That is the main piano style that we created in previous video, because we knew that we will need to have a different type of chord translation for left hand playing and for right hand playing. We needed to separate our left and right hand into two different channels so that we can make separate settings for each hand. Now, to understand what we wish to achieve, let me explain that shortly again. By default, when we record something, let's say that we only recorded these three notes. Keyboard only knows that these notes are E3, G3 and C4. At this point, keyboard actually doesn't know what chord that is, what it is. We need to tell keyboard that, so that it has a starting point from which it can then calculate other chords when the style is running. We tell that to keyboard, yes, this is C chord, and we'll tell that to keyboard, let's say for right hand, that we recorded C chord. Of course, usually we don't think about that because we record everything in C mostly anyway, and C setting is here by default, and so we think that keyboard is simply recognizing that, but it doesn't. If we would decide to record our chord, for example, in F chord, then we need to tell keyboard that is F chord. Otherwise, keyboard will not translate chords to other chords properly. And we need to keep that in mind. Now, of course, that is one thing. First, we need to tell keyboard what chord we were recording, so that it can translate chords, that chord notes to another chords. But at the same time, we also need to tell keyboard how we wish these chords to be translated. There are only two types of translation. One is simple root transpose, which goes like this, because we in C key we have a CFG progression. That is, it would go like this: C, F, G, and that is first normal type of chord translation. And the second one is if we wish to keep chord progression within octave of initial chord. In this case, we wish to have this: F, G, and back to C. And we need to tell keyboard what we wish to have, either root transpose or within octave. That's the whole point of these settings. Keyboard cannot know what we wish to have. We must tell it. And we tell that keyboard with these settings here. First setting, Enter R. It's either root fixed or root transpose. And that's the whole point of all this. Now, first we will set our type calculation or recipe or settings for left hand, that is in chord 1 channel. Here we wish to have normal root transpose progression, and that is, we make sure that we have root transpose here. That's all what we need to check or do here. Now we go to right hand, and here we wish to have chord progression within octave, and then F and G. And now that suggests that we should use root fixed here. However, we have a problem. The thing is, we recorded this and we said that is C chord. However, we are playing two chords. First is, yes, C, but this one is A minor, and we only can define one chord as recorded, that is C. And in this case, when we play this and then A minor, a translation for A minor will be wrong. That means we simply cannot use root fixed in this case. We need to use root transpose. Now, of course, now we will have following progression: C, F, G, which we don't want, but that's the only solution. Now we will need to force keyboard to keep chord progression within octave by using note limitation. That's the only way. When we start doing this, we always start with the highest chord in progression. The highest chord in our case is G. That is C, F, G is the highest. And here we need to start. First we need to start chord translation for G chord. Now, as you can see, this G is quite far away from initial chord, which is C. We need to move it closer, and the easiest way is to play it one octave lower, which is now closer to this. How we do that? We do that by setting high key limit. That is, by default it is set to G. That is, chord progression will go upwards up to G. C, F, G. But we don't wish to allow G that for G anymore, and so we will decrease that note. Now it's not allowed when the chord progressions play. It's not allowed to go for G upwards, and so it can only play one octave lower. And our problem is solved if we wish to keep it that way. That is, in this case we would have following progression for C and G, C, and then G. If we like this, okay, but we wish to have it within octave. That is, we wish to have this G. And we can see that this G and this G already have three notes the same. These three notes are already correct. That is, we only have problem actually with this note. And so we will set low note limit. We will say don't play anything below C3. Note limit low, C3, C3, yes. Now, because anything below C3 is not allowed anymore, instead of this note, keyboard will play the note one octave higher, which is this. And that is exactly what we want. Our problem with G is solved. Now we should check the setting for F, which is part of chord progression C, F, G. Now, as it is now, we have C and then F. But we want this. And similar as before, we see that these three notes are already okay. That is, we only have problem with this high note now. And now we will set high note limit. We will say don't allow any note above E4. 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 And now, because E4, this note is not allowed to play anymore, anything above E4, it will play, the keyboard will play this note one octave lower, which is this, and that is what we want. And our piano is done. Now we have everything sorted. Let us check again. That is, for chord 2 we have root transpose. Now in both, actually, here we have limitations, okay, and for left hand we have root transpose and no limitation, of course. And that's it. Our piano is ready and we can save it. Now we forget about piano. Piano member is already in our band, in our style. Now we need to become bass guitar player, and so we will first find some bass guitar so that we can practice something, okay, and we need to decide for certain note sequence for bass guitar. And we decide that usually by playing. We don't record yet because nothing is selected. We are just practicing. While piano is playing, we can practice something. But that is pretty lame. I mean, boring. Maybe good enough for some polka, but that's pretty much all. We need to be more creative. That's the reason why we create styles. You can find some other note sequence. I decided for this one. And so we will record this. Now we will actually record this. We select for this channel that bass guitar, and we will let piano player play his rhythm, and we will join him with bass guitar and record that. And that's it. Now we don't need to change any settings here because we recorded our bass guitar in bass channel, which already has default setting that is, how to say, normal in most cases for bass guitar. So we don't need to worry about that anymore. And now it's time that we save our style so that we don't destroy something by mistake. And now we will finally add some decoration, a final touch. We will add that snare. We will record that into rhythm 2 channels where we can choose drum kit voices. You can choose the sound that you wish to have. I decided for this drum kit where I will use this snare or whatever that is. I'm just showing you an example how to do it. You can be more creative than that. It's just an example. And now, same as before, we will let piano player and bass guitar player to play their rhythm, and we will join with that snare and already record that. And that's it. Okay, maybe it's a bit too loud. Maybe we should decrease the velocity slightly. It's our decision, actually, what we wish to have. Yes, now it's more in background, that snare. And our style is ready. Time to save it. And that's it. Now we can play our La Paloma as expected. But because our style is only one bar style, it's pretty much generic, and so we can also use it for some other melodies. Maybe this. Now, of course, the one way to improve this style is to increase number of bars and add some more, how to say, feel that makes then that song more recognizable. We will do that in some of the next video.